Hi there, it's Catherine, your lawyer friend and guide, and this is the #1 podcast for legal careers in Japan. Hi everyone, welcome back to Lawyer on Air. Today's guest is someone I've had the pleasure of knowing for years through the Japan In-House Counsel network, and yet sitting down to record this conversation, I realized I still had so much to learn about her. Chie Hashimoto is the General Counsel for Japan at one of the world's most prestigious luxury groups, the parent company of brand names like Van Cleef & Arpels, Chloe, and Cartier. But her path to get there was anything but conventional. She started her career in sales and international business, took maternity leave, quit her full-time job to go to law school in Hawaii, and somewhere along the way, she became a certified internal auditor, a rescue scuba diver, and a few more things. In this episode, Chie talks about what it means to be the only lawyer in a Japan entity of a global brand, and we go into the amazing assignment she undertook in 2025 that made her realize she wasn't only supporting the business anymore, she really was shaping it. She also shares the 3 pieces of advice she'd give any young lawyer who wants to build an international career, and the one book she thinks every professional should read at least once. Whether you're in-house, in private practice, or somewhere in between, I think you'll find something in this conversation that stays with you. One final note before we begin. After listening back to our conversation, I realized there were a few moments in my conversation with Chie that I wanted to pause on and explore a little further. So throughout this episode, you'll occasionally hear me drop in with a few more reflections on what stood out for me after we stopped recording. It's a little different to our usual format, but I hope it adds some additional context to Chie's journey and the lessons that we can all take from it. Oh, and there's a few Easter egg surprises waiting there for you too. Let's get into it. Hello, Chie, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kathleen, bringing me here.
Yeah, I'm excited. We've known each other for so long. I'm trying to think when it was that we first met. We can get into that in a moment, but let's start with the very first question, which is, so imagine we are meeting up in person. Where are we and what are you ordering from the drinks menu?
I'll take you to the downhill bar in Ginza. It's located on the 2nd and the 3rd floors of the downhill boutique, and it's one of Tokyo's best kept secrets.
Oh, now it's not?
What makes it truly special is visiting
Mm.
after the boutique has closed for the evening, because behind you, instead of a normal wall, you have this stunning backdrop of beautifully tailored menswear on display, and in front of you, you're looking out over Ginza Dori. It feels
Oh,
like you've stepped into a scene from a spy film, like the secret tailor shop in Kingsman or W7.
oh,
Yeah, there's
wow.
this wonderful scene of being somewhere exclusive, sophisticated, and just a little bit cinematic. As for what I'm ordering,
Yeah.
champagne is always wonderful choice there, but honestly, recommend one of their seasonal fruits cocktail.
Mm.
They are beautifully crafted. They change with the seasons.
Yeah. Wow. So now we are getting into sort of summertime.
Mhm.
What kind of cocktails do they usually have around this season for the fruit cocktail?
Uh,
Yeah.
it could be mojito with other seasonal cocktails, or frozen margarita would be nice too.
Ooh, excellent. Well, I love the sound of that. And how interesting to be in a place where they have a wall of menswear. I just can't
Mm,
imagine that in a bar.
yeah.
Oh, I look forward to going. That sounds like
Mhm.
fun. Well, let's go back to that question. Do you remember when we met? I wondered if it was WSET, but was it WSET or did we meet through lawyer events?
JICN?
JICN, was it? A long time ago.
Hmm.
I see. Because I know you did the WSET wine qualification, right? The wine
Yes.
qualification. And I
Yeah.
did that as well. And I had a moment of thinking, did we also do that together? But I don't think so.
I took WSET only 3 years ago, so it's
Oh,
not.
no,
Uh,
that's right. Yeah.
yeah, we've been knowing each other more longer time.
Lot longer than that. Well, that's great. And let's get into this because your career has really taken you from like Japanese companies into global legal leadership roles across so many industries, technology, and currently a lot of work you're doing in luxury brands. But let's go back a little bit because I don't remember from our talking what got you interested in law. And probably I've never asked this question because it really comes up for everybody the first time on this podcast. What got you interested in law? And did you always think you would do some sort of international career?
Well, I actually decided to study law long before I became a lawyer.
Hmm.
When I was in high school, I enjoyed the literature, but I was drawn to something more practical. And I wanted to understand how society and businesses function, so I chose to study law at university.
Right. How did you know about law, though? Did something prompt you to move away from literature to think about law? Hmm.
Yeah, it's practical, so
Hmm.
I thought it's useful.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm.
Practical. Very good. And what happened then?
After graduation, I didn't go straight into legal work. I started my career in sales and international business and spent several years working in commercial laws.
And I found that really fascinating about you is that you didn't start that traditional legal pathway. You had that commercial and operational experience first. And I wondered about this when I was thinking about having you on the podcast and how it's really a way of showing another pathway that you can do commercial work first and become a lawyer next. So I wondered how that experience in the commercial world was really helping you shape yourself now as a lawyer and business partner that you became.
Yes, it's working very well now.
Yeah, so how's it helped you? Is it that you can understand the business teams differently because of it, or you understand the feeling that they have as business people as a lawyer? Tell me how it works. That first experience was really useful for you now. How does that happen?
Because I wasn't trained as a lawyer from day one, I
Mm.
learned first how businesses make money, how customers think, and how operations actually work. So when business teams come to me today, I don't immediately think, what does the law say? I first ask, what is a business trying to achieve?
Aha.
Then I help them achieve it in a legally sound way. The mindset was shaped by my early commercial experience and has stayed with me throughout my career.
It's amazing, isn't it? And I think, is there a point where you started being a lawyer and you thought, oh, all that experience I had was not wasted? Was there some issue or anything that made you think, oh, this is really working when I did previous commercial work? Right? Some people think, oh, I'm a little bit late to become a lawyer, but actually you're using your commercial work. I just wondered if there was a particular point in your timing when you joined a company that you thought, ah, that's why I did that commercial work. This is helping me right now.
Yeah, today when business leaders come to me with a problem, I don't only see the legal issue, I also see the operational and the commercial realities behind it. So if anyone listening today feels like their path isn't linear enough, those detours are not wasted, they become your superpower.
Ah, I love that. I love that, really. And do you think if you did it again, would you do it the same way? You'd do commercial first, then law, or would you think, I'll change it?
I would do the same. One experience became a turning point for me was when I took maternity leave when I was working for banking manufacturer company.
Hmm.
I was the first woman in my company to do so. It made me think deeply about what kind of career I wanted over the long term. Then I realized I wanted a profession where expertise, judgment, and experience would become more valuable with age, like a fine wine. That realization led me to make a significant career change into legal work. So
Right.
it's nice to have other commercial experiences before
Yeah,
going into legal work.
I agree with you. I really do. I think sometimes we might think I'm behind. Everyone else who's doing law is ahead of me. But you have your own timing for everything. And doing commercial first or doing another profession
Mhm.
or another kind of job first actually helps you. I want to linger on something Chie just said because I think it is an underplayed moment in this conversation. Chie took maternity leave as the first woman in her company ever to do so. And rather than seeing this as a disruption to her career, she used it as a moment to ask herself a bigger question. What kind of career did she want for the next 20 or 30 years? What emerged was the idea that expertise, judgment, and experience become more valuable with age, just like a fine wine. One thing I've noticed after speaking with more than 100 women on this podcast is that very few careers follow the original plan. Often the moment that looks like a pause from the outside turns out to be the turning point. Whether it's parental leave, redundancy, illness, relocation, or simply stopping long enough to ask yourself whether you are still on the right path, it is those interruptions that become invitations for something new. For Chie, that invitation eventually led her to law school in Hawaii and the opening of an entirely new chapter of her career. And I noticed too that you became a certified internal auditor, which is such an interesting thing for you to do as a lawyer. And I wondered what made you decide to study that and how being an auditor is also helping you to bring in, commercial, legal, and now perhaps compliance and audit. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, working at European listed companies, I'm regularly engaged by internal auditors. They came in with their own frameworks, their own questions, their own way of assessing risk. I was on the receiving end of those conversations for years, and I realized that if I wanted to be a truly effective partner, I needed to understand their perspective from the inside, not just respond to their questions, but understand why they were asking them and how they think about organization risk.
I see. Did it again like change how you now communicate with management, or do you frame things in a kind of auditor way as well as being a lawyer, right? So are you changing the way that you communicate depending who it is?
Yeah, the impact was immediate. I went from being the legal person answering audit questions to someone who could speak their language,
Mm.
anticipate their concerns, and engage as a genuine governance partner. It also changed how management sees me when you can bridge legal, compliance, and internal audit. You are trusted more broadly and invited into conversations much earlier.
Right. I'm not sure how many people have the same as you, the three qualifications, right? Your commercial, legal, and audit governance approach. It's quite unique, I feel. Well, it's really interesting because I think also you're such a great leader within your teams as well. Was there a time when you realized, I'm not really just supporting the business as a lawyer anymore. I get to influence how it operates as a leader. Maybe it was some sort of negotiation or you were talking with a difficult stakeholder, but I wondered if there was a moment that happened when you thought, I'm actually, yeah, I'm now a leader in this organization?
Well, there was a moment at Richemont.
Mm.
Catherine, did you go to Expo Osaka
Yes,
last year?
I did. It
You
was
did
so,
that?
and I went in June. It was so hot. Yes, I went, but you're going to tell
Mm.
me a story about Expo.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was working on the legal strategy for Cartier's participation in Expo
oh,
2025 Osaka. High profile project with enormous reputational stakes.
mm,
The scope of my involvement was end to end from negotiating the facade construction contracts to the agreement with the Expo Association, all the way through to the contracts for celebrities.
wow, what a project.
Yeah, so this wasn't a situation where the business came to me with a finished plan and asked me check the contract. I was at the table from the very beginning, helping to shape the approach and identifying risks before they became problems. And what I noticed over the course of that project was a subtle but powerful shift. The questions I was being asked changed. It was no longer, can we do this? Or is this compliant? It was,
Mm,
how should we approach this? And what's your read on the situation? The business wasn't just looking for legal clearness anymore. They were looking for my judgment.
exactly. When you're asked for your read on the situation, it is totally across your judgment. And that
Mhm.
brings in all of those skills. How amazing. Because there were so many problems with Expo, weren't there? With some of the contractors not paying their fees or not
Yes,
being
yes.
paid. So I'm thinking about all of these things that you might have come across, but how fantastic, because that Cartier facade was stunning.
Mhm.
And also all of the things that must have happened. Celebrity contracts. Oh, I think we can talk about that when we're at the Ginza bar. I want to pause here again for a moment because I think what Chie just described deserves a little context. The Expo 2025 project she's referring to, Japan's first World Expo since 1970, was one of the biggest international events this country has hosted since Rugby World Cup 2019, and it was not without its complications. There are well documented disputes between contractors and the Expo Association over fees and construction delays. The pavilions were extraordinarily high profile, with brands, governments, and celebrities all involved. So when Chie says her involvement went from the construction contracts all the way to the celebrity agreements, she is talking about the full life cycle of a genuinely complex, high stakes, very public project. And most lawyers are brought into a project, as she said, after the business has already decided what it wants to do. But Chie was right there at the front, involved from the very beginning. What stood out to me was not actually the legal work. It was the shift she described from being asked, is this compliant, to being asked, what's your read on the situation? Those are such very different questions. The first asking for legal expertise, the second for judgment. And when business leaders start asking you as a lawyer for your judgment, it's not an accident in that way. It usually means you have done the work over time to earn the trust that gets you to the seat at the table. That is something far more valuable than technical credibility. You have earned trust. That shift is one of the most important transitions many in house lawyers make during their careers. And I thought Chie described it really beautifully. Is there anything in particular that you just, I'll never forget when that happened? A good thing.
Well, in my previous company, the chairman, global chairman, wanted to buy the building.
Oh,
It was a big project too. He really wanted to buy that building,
mm,
including the land, and we had to negotiate with the company, which was not on the sale. actually.
Oh, really?
So negotiated, started from the scratch.
Oh, like,
Yeah.
I want to buy your building. Will you sell
Yeah.
it to me?
So
Did it
well,
have tenants as well in the building? Like people were
yes.
already there, so you that
Yeah.
became
So
a
we
yeah.
had to ask the tenant to move on.
Yeah, go away. Oh,
So
wow.
working with
Yes.
external lawyers and real estate team closely, and
Yes.
we closed the deal.
Right.
Mm.
Excellent. Well done. And I'm just wondering too, there must have been other challenges across your career. Looking at your career, was there a period or some experience that's really tested your confidence or perhaps resilience? Resilience seems to be the word of the year in 2026. But tell me, is there some period or experience that you can share where you're really challenged?
Yes, moving from technology to luxury
Yes, that must have been
was
it.
a challenge. At Dell, I felt competent and confident. I understood the business inside and out and had won internal awards for process improvement. Then I moved to Kering, the parent company of Gucci, Balenciaga, Saint Laurent, and
Yes.
suddenly I was in a completely different world. In technology, the focus is on speed and efficiency. In luxury, every decision carries brand implications.
Mm.
A single clause in a retail lease could affect how a brand is perceived. The stakes felt more emotional, more personal, more tied to legacy and heritage.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was a big challenge.
Wow. Amazing. Are you watching Emily in Paris?
Yes, I did.
I okay, secret. I've been watching it too. So it's interesting what you said just then about the stakes, emotional, very personal, the legacy and the heritage. There's a couple of stories in the most recent season where that comes up a lot with the brands
Mm,
that they're trying to work with. And so now I imagine you like as the Emily, but you're not marketing or sales. You're the lawyer who's got this audit qualification and commercial side of things, running that
mhm.
business, right? I'm seeing you in
Yes.
that position and how it's tough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about someone who wants to do what you're doing? They want to get into that luxury area of working in as a lawyer. What do they need to be careful about, or what do you think they should do as for their skills or experience that would be useful?
Well, if you have passion to understand what business leaders want, and if you keep having curiosity, that will help you to work for this industry.
Yeah, and I think not thinking about the luxury part first,
Mm.
right? If you're thinking about Gucci or the brands that you're dealing with, it's not, yes, it's about the brands, but if you focus only on that, maybe it's not so useful. It's thinking about what the business owner wants, as you just said, the business leader.
Yeah, love for the brand is always necessary, but we need to be reasonable, rational.
Is it interesting being a Japanese woman working in these kinds of global brand environments? Are you one of the few Japanese women?
Yes, early on there were moments I felt where I felt my voice wasn't being heard the way it should have been. I learned to be more intentional about how I communicated, not louder but clearer and more direct. And over time, I realized that being different was actually my strength. I brought something no one else in the room had, a deep understanding of the Japanese market, Japanese consumers, and Japanese regulatory nuance. That became my value proposition.
Right, exactly. And I guess within your company, are you the only lawyer?
I am the only lawyer in this Richemont Japan entity.
Right. So now you've understood that your difference is actually the thing that really stands out for you. And what do you think people outside of Japan misunderstand about the culture and the consumers and regulatory side of things you just mentioned? Because people outside of Japan may not quite get it right. Can you tell us what sometimes they maybe miss? Especially when they're talking with you and the legal team, maybe they miss some things. It'd be interesting to hear your perspective.
One of the most important unique things to understand about Japan is the concept of the gentleman's agreement.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more.
There is a long-standing business custom
Mm.
here where deals are done on trust and handshake without
Mm.
a normal formal written contract. The relationship is the contract. Of course, this is changing, especially as more Japanese companies engage with global partners and regulatory expectations evolve. But the cultural DNA is still very much alive, and it creates a real tension when you're working with overseas counterparts who expect everything to be documented and signed before any work begins.
Yeah, that's a very big one, Chie. I thank you for saying that because how do you convince people or how do you let them know it's going to be okay? We've got the relationship. The relationship is the contract. You just said that.
Mm.
That is brilliant. That is gold. The relationship itself is the contract. How do you
Yeah.
convince people? It's sometimes, I think it's very hard to convince people. It's kind of a feeling, isn't it? More than a words. It's
Yes.
yeah. Have you had to try and convince people to sort of say, look, wait, it's a relationship. We'll get the document signed soon, but just ちょっと待ってください. Wait for a moment,
Mhm.
please. Did you have to do that somewhere?
Yes, explaining the background of Japanese culture and bringing that gap,
Yeah.
respecting the Japanese tradition of trust-based business while meeting global governance standard is one of the trickiest parts of my role.
And has there been a time where the contract wasn't signed until very late, that you went on the trust and then the contract was later?
Yeah, actually it happens a lot.
Whoa, that is really interesting. And do you think
Mm.
that's specific, particularly in this industry of luxury industry?
Yes, in the
Oh.
luxury industry, it happens a lot. Yeah. The business partner is traditional
Mm.
department stores.
Mm.
So people respect more.
Like reputation or history and, like you said,
Yes,
legacy.
yes,
Whoa, that's very interesting. Amazing. Well, we can't avoid the topic of I think. And I believe in the past you talked about practical legal solutions and adopting AI driven review platforms. Is that right?
yes.
So
At
tell me
least,
more. Yeah,
yeah,
tell me more
yeah,
about that because
yeah.
I really think that's an interesting topic. And coming from you in your industry, how are you seeing this working in maybe in your legal team, but also perhaps your industry? Give us some thoughts from you on that.
At Richemont, I led the implementation of AI-based contract review tools and global case management systems.
Mm,
The goal wasn't to replace lawyers, it was to free them from repetitive, low value tasks so they could focus on strategic advice.
yeah.
Contracts review that used to take hours can now be done in minutes with AI flagging the key risk areas. That allows my team to spend more time on what truly requires human judgment, complex negotiations, sensitive stakeholder conversations,
Mm,
novel regulatory questions.
right. And you just said that you helped get these tools in place.
Right, actually, our team, Japan team, implemented AI-based contract review platform
Mm.
back in 2020,
Oh,
6 years
really?
ago.
Oh,
Yes.
really? Oh, so you should be helping teach other departments now to do it, how to do it.
Right, we are
Hmm.
very an early adopter.
One thing that struck me here listening back to this section was the timing. We all talk about AI in law as though it suddenly arrived in 2024, but Chie's team were implementing AI-driven contract review tools back in 2020. Think about that for a moment. That might not sound so remarkable at first, but think about what 2020 actually was. The world had just gone into COVID lockdown. Most legal teams were scrambling to figure out how to work remotely. Yet, Chie's team were already looking at how technology could eliminate repetitive work and allow lawyers to focus on high value judgment and advice. It's a good reminder that AI in law is not a 2024 story. For some people, it's already a 5 year story. And it is also a useful reminder that successful innovation is not always flashy. Often it is simply finding a practical solution to a real problem before everybody else starts talking about it. And also, you talked a little bit before about JICN, Japan
Yes,
In-House Counsel Network, where we first met when I was in-house. And you're now involved in the leadership team there.
right.
So I think in-house roles, sometimes you can feel so alone and isolated.
I
And I think
know.
that's really one of the reasons why JICN was came to be, is that if you work in a law firm, you have plenty of other lawyers down the hallway. You can knock on the door and say, "Hey, I've got this issue," or "Have you got something I could use, like a document that I could try as a base?" Right? And then if you're in-house, you can't really do that, at least if you're a sole counsel. So you're the person that everyone comes to, but you may not always have people around you who can understand your world. So how's this community been through JICN, and how's it been important for you in the career journey? And I'm also interested why you put your hand up to be part of it. So those two things, how it became useful for you. Of course, we met, so that's great.
Yeah.
But aside from that, how it's been useful, and also what led you to saying you wanted to be involved in helping them out in the leadership team.
Right. In my previous company and current company, I'm the only lawyer.
Right.
Everyone comes to me for answers, but there's no one internally who truly understands the unique pressure of my role. The Japan in-house counsel network has been invaluable for me. It's a community where I can share challenges, exchange best practices, and simply feel understood. So I joined the board this year because
Good.
I wanted to give back to the community and help build the kind of support network I wish I would have
Right.
earlier in my career.
Right. Yeah. So is it different being a member of JICN and being in that board and the leadership team?
Well, board members have monthly meeting and plan the events to
Yes.
support other in-house lawyers.
Right. Right. It's gone through many phases. I sort of think back to the early days when I joined JICN. Royanne Doi was the president.
Chair,
Chair,
yes.
chair, yeah,
Mm.
chair.
Gr-
And she had a whole lot of different practices that she shared with all of us, and we learnt those. It
Yes,
was really
yes.
amazing.
Mm,
And then it sort of passed through different people, and it's been an incredible organization. And I think nearly how many years? 2002 or no, 2005, I think it started. So it's
mm,
been around for a long time. It's really great to see you there in that part of in-house legal counsel work.
mm.
Yeah, it's great. Anything else to share there?
Well, always welcoming lawyers who are in-house lawyers who are interested in JICN events. So,
Yes,
and
to join.
yes.
Now, before we continue, I should mention that if you've only met Chie through her professional biography or at JICN, what comes next may surprise you. We have been so deep in conversation so far about legal leadership, governance, business judgment, and international careers. And we haven't even got to those Easter eggs I mentioned at the beginning of the show. So I want to shift gears completely because I think this next part tells you something about Chie that the professional biography really doesn't prepare you for. What I've always found fascinating about Chie is that there is a whole other side to her story. And as you're about to hear, some of those experiences outside the office may well have shaped her professional success just as much as anything she has learned inside it. And beyond the law, because you're not only doing law, you're also outside of law. You pursue karate, I believe.
Yes.
And you have a fourth dan,
Yes.
black belt.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. And you also do diving,
Scuba diving, yes.
scuba diving. And you've got your wine, and I think you have photography and travel as well.
Yes.
Yeah? How do you get all those things done? And also, how do they maybe help you to have like a fresh view when you come back into the office and you're doing your legal work and your audit work and your commercial work?
Actually, it helps a lot. My work too. My very first karate teacher was extremely demanding, and that training forged something in me that I
Mm.
carry into every part of my professional life. Through years of being pushed beyond what I thought I was capable of, I developed the mental toughness to turn most mission impossibles into mission possibles.
Mm. Have you got an example of that?
Well, even in high pressure negotiations, in crisis situations, in moments where everyone says, this can't be done, I often find myself thinking, I've been through tougher in the dojo.
Oh, I've been in tougher in the JoJo. I can do it.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness. And also tougher underneath the water, right?
right. Diving is the ultimate self management. It teaches me about calm. When you are
Mm.
30 meters underwater, panic is your enemy. You must control your breathing, trust your training, and stay composed. As a Naui rescue diver, I've trained to stay calm, not just for myself, but for others. That's a powerful leadership skill, being the person who stays steady when everyone else is anxious.
Absolutely. Wow. So you've got the strength of mind within the dojo, right? You've
Mm,
got this also this composure under the water. How about
mm,
those other activities that you have? So your wine course or WSET.
mm.
I mean, it's teaching you to drink, all right, or know the drinks, and when you're out with people, you can recommend something. But how about that particular study? How's that helped you within your work?
Wine taught me about nuance and storytelling. Every bottle has a
Mm.
story. The
Mm.
terroir, the vintage, the winemaker's philosophy. As a JSA wine expert and a WSET level 2 holder, I've learned to appreciate complexity and to communicate it in a way that others can enjoy. That's essentially what a great lawyer does. Takes something complex and makes it accessible.
Oh, so good. Well, I have to ask you then about photography and travel. This is really interesting, all of these, how they relate into your work.
Yeah, I go to trip very often times abroad,
Mhm.
and many of them are for karate workshop, going with my instructor sensei
Mm.
and a bunch of my karate dojo friends. So it would be different from others going to Europe or United States, but I can practice karate with local people so I can get more local perspective. That's a fun part.
I see. Yeah, of course. So you you're in the dojo with them, but probably you head outside and maybe have some, dinner or coffee or something
Yes.
with them too.
Mm. Yeah.
Of course, and they can become your friends as well, or
Hmm.
contacts across the ocean.
Yes.
Amazing. Wow. Who would know that those are really great examples, I think, of how these feed into your work and finding time to do it, Chie, is that just because you love them, you make the time?
Yes.
Right. And would you encourage everybody to have some sort of passion outside of work?
Sure. Other experience will give that perspectives from different directions.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. It's really good. All right, well, let's move through to perhaps helping the next generation and thinking about the future lens. If you were a younger lawyer in Japan, like there probably are people here who are listening who are younger lawyers, and maybe somebody's listening or they hear this and they find you at the next JICN event and they're like, oh, where can I go to build an international career from here, Chie? What would you tell them? What do you think they would like to know?
Three things. First, your career does not need to be a straight line.
Mm,
Mine certainly wasn't. And today I find myself leading legal for global luxury house in Japan, something I never could have planned. So every detour gave me something I use today. So don't compare your past to anyone else.
mm,
Second, say yes to things that scare you. Going to Hawaii scared me. New York bar scared me. Moving from technology to luxury scared me. Challenging myself to become a rescue diver scared me. All those experiences are outside my comfort zone, but every time I said yes to something uncomfortable, I grew. Third, invest in skills beyond law, audit, data
mm.
privacy, wine, karate. These things make you a richer, more well rounded professional, and they open doors that pure legal credentials never will.
For sure. And they make you interesting, right?
Hmm.
Very
Right.
interesting. And people sometimes are surprised. If you, especially if you're doing a like this, a podcast or something that you have to introduce yourself and you mention
Right.
these things, you've got many things you can say to make people so surprised around the table.
Hmm.
Right. What do you think then? What do you wish you had understood earlier? Do you think you couldn't know that you were going to be these particular roles that you've done? Would it be, don't worry, it's going to be all right? Or don't be fearful? Or fear is part of it? Fear is part of the decision to do something? What do you think you would have wished you understood earlier?
Yeah, I always had a fear, of course, when I challenged something new.
Hmm.
What I would say, you're going to be okay more than okay.
Hmm.
I remember the moment I decided to quit my full time job and went Hawaii to study law. I
Yeah.
was terrified, giving up a stable career, leaving everything familiar behind. I was filled with anxiety and self doubt.
Hmm.
But if I could go back to that version of myself, I would say, you have no idea what an incredible future is waiting for you on the other side of this decision.
Yeah. Why did you choose Hawaii?
One of the reasons was I don't drive very well. I wanted to avoid driving.
Yeah.
And at that time, my son was 5 years old.
Oh, I see.
As a mother, I had to think not only about my education, but also about his well being.
Mm.
One of the reasons I chose Hawaii was there was a strong Japanese community and access to Japanese speaking medical professionals, which gave me confidence that my son could adapt and live comfortably there.
Right, out of any place you could choose, that you had the Japanese language and professional support. I
Mhm.
see. That makes sense. Totally. Is this part of your answer then? Is your sort of reflection at the end of if you could go back and speak to yourself again, you would say the same things to yourself that just go and do it, you have no idea? Would you say that to yourself?
I will tell her not to rush, not to panic when the path seems unclear. I will
Right.
tell her that the things that feel like setbacks, the late start, the career changes, the moments of doubt are actually building blocks. And I would tell her to enjoy the journey because it turns out to be a remarkable one.
That's remarkable. And also, how about that future self, that future Chie? What would she say to you now?
Stay curious, stay smart.
Do another qualification. Maybe not. Well, maybe that's
Um,
part of curiosity. You might find something that you'd like to do.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
excellent. Let's do the final quickfire round then, because this is always fun. You ready?
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
You mentioned a superpower before, but what would you call out as your real lawyer superpower or your personal superpower?
Mm, connecting the dots. My background in sales, import operations, audit, and law means I see issues from multiple angles, not just a legal risk, but the commercial impact, the operational reality, and the human element. I think the cross functional perspective is my superpower.
Mm, good. I wanted to know, since you do wine, do you have a wine recommendation for lawyers to celebrate with? And probably it's champagne, but maybe you might tell us something.
Absolutely, I recommend a good champagne.
Anything in particular? What's your favorite one?
I like Tetange.
Oh, you like Tattinger? Okay, interesting. Can you suggest a book or a podcast or some other resource that you would recommend?
A book, Absent in the Spring
Hmm.
by Agatha Christie. Most people know Agatha Christie for her mysteries, but this is a quiet, introspective novel about a woman who is forced to confront the truth about herself and the life she has built. It's a powerful reminder to stop and honestly examine whether the path you are on is really your own. I
Mm,
think every lawyer, every professional should read it at least once.
great. I might have to read it over the summertime. Thank you very
Mhm.
much. If you weren't a lawyer, big question. What would you be doing, Chie?
A novelist. It was dream since I was a kid.
Really?
Mhm.
What kind of novel would you write?
Mystery, I would say.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, I think you should do that. Maybe a karate expert gets lost under the ocean or something. I don't know. Mystery murder. Wow, I look forward to seeing
Mm.
your name on a book sometime. Fantastic. And we sometimes ask this question as a finishing up one of describing your career as a metaphor. So some people have said water flowing around a rock or have described different ways of being. One person said an octopus, actually. What about you? A metaphor for your career?
A mosaic. From a distance, it looks like a clear, coherent picture, but up close, you can see it's made of many different pieces: sales, import operations, lost going Hawaii, the New York bar, technology, luxury, karate, wine, diving. No single piece makes scene of on its own, but together they create something unique and I hope beautiful.
Yeah, it's very interesting. That's around the naming of the book that I'm hoping to write is around Mosaic. So I love that. Thank you. I love it. Right. I'll share that with you. Well, we have reached the end of our chat today. Thank you so much, Chie, for joining me on Lawyer on Air. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you like this. And I learned so much about you that I didn't know, even though we've known each other for a very long time. Would you tell others to be on the show if I invited them? Would to
I
say
will. I
say
will.
yes?
Yes.
Before we finish up, what's the good place for people to get hold of you, listeners to this podcast, if they wanted to connect and ask more questions? Would it be LinkedIn, or is that the best place to get hold of you?
Yes.
Okay.
LinkedIn would be good.
Wonderful. Well, we'll add that information in the show notes along with all of the other things that you suggested. And this is to my listeners out there. If you listened to this episode and it inspired you or gave you something to think about, we'd love to hear from you. Please not only subscribe, but do leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Send us a voice review or a text review. We love receiving those. And your feedback really helps more listeners like you find this show and discover answers to questions you always wanted to know but about a career in law in Japan but didn't know where to find them. That's all for today. Thanks. I'll be back here on the next episode. Cheers, kampai, and bye for now. But wait, you know me. I still have a few things I'm still thinking about from this conversation. So here's my postscript. After we stopped recording, I really did find myself reflecting on something. I've known Chie for so many years, and yet there were these parts of her story I had never heard before. And what struck me most was not a single achievement. It wasn't about only becoming a lawyer and starting in business. It wasn't only about qualifying as an auditor. And it wasn't only about moving to Hawaii with a young son to attend law school. And it wasn't only about being the sole legal counsel supporting a global luxury brand in Japan. What struck me really was the way she kept adding pieces. Sales, law, audit, karate, diving, wine, and leadership. At first, they all don't look connected, but together they create a career that is uniquely hers. I was also struck by something else. Many people look at successful careers and assume there was a master plan. Listening to Chie, what I heard was curiosity, a willingness to say yes to opportunities that felt a little uncomfortable, and the courage to trust that the next step would make sense later, even if it didn't make complete sense at the time. Perhaps that's why her description of her career as a mosaic resonated with me so strongly, because mine is too. Looking from a distance, the picture looks clear, but up close, it's made of many different pieces, many different experiences and decisions that only reveal themselves and their value when they're all viewed together. And maybe that's very true for more of us than we realize. And finally, this one is for anyone who's ever felt like they came to their career too late, or took too many detours, or who didn't have the CV that they thought they were supposed to have. Sometimes I have felt that way too. Chie's message was clear. The detours become the superpower. So thank you so much to Chie for her time, her openness, and for making me to want to visit that secret bar in Ginza with a wall of menswear immediately. I'll be back with another episode very soon. Until then, this time it really is. Cheers, kampai, and bye for now.